The smell of burnt coffee and grease clings to everything in Romano's bistro. It seeps into my hair, my clothes, even my skin. No amount of scrubbing ever seems to get it out completely. But I don't complain. Can't complain. Not when this job is the only thing standing between my daughter and the streets. I balance 3 plates along my left arm, the porcelain edges digging into my skin as I weave through the crowded dining room. Friday nights are always chaos, a blur of demanding customers, impossible orders, and Marco's increasingly violent temper. My manager has been worse than usual lately. His eyes bloodshot, his hands shaking slightly when he thinks no one's watching. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Table 7 still waiting on their appetizers. Sofia, Marco snaps as I pass the kitchen window. His voice cuts through the dinner rush like a blade. You, trying to get us shut down? They ordered 10 minutes ago. I say quietly, keeping my eyes down. Kitchen's backed up. I don't care if the kitchen's on fire. You make it work. I nod mechanically and deliver my plates to table 12, a young couple celebrating an anniversary, their faces glowing with that particular happiness of people still discovering each other. They thank me warmly, and I smile back, the expression feeling cracked at the edges. I used to believe in that kind of happiness, before I learned that some men smile while they're planning to disappear. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The dinner rush continues its relentless pace. I move through the familiar choreography: take order, deliver food, clear plates, smile, repeat while my mind calculates the tips I'll need to make rent this month. $300. Short. That's assuming Elena doesn't need new shoes again. Assuming her inhaler doesn't run out early like last month. Assuming nothing else breaks or fails or demands money I don't have. Sofia. Marco's voice again, closer now. I turn to find him standing too near, invading my space in that way he started doing over the past few weeks. We need to talk about your performance. My stomach drops. Is something wrong? Your sections are running slow. Customers are complaining. His breath smells like whiskey, even though his shift started only 2 hours ago. Maybe you're distracted. Maybe you're not cut out for this anymore. I'll work faster. I promise. Hating the desperation in my voice. It won't happen again. See that it doesn't. His hand brushes my lower back as he walks past, the touch lingering just long enough to send ice down my spine. Not the first time. Won't be the last. I'm heading back to the kitchen when I notice him for the first time. He sits alone in the corner booth, the one we usually reserve for VIPs or regulars who tip exceptionally well, but I don't recognize him. Dark suit, white shirt open at the collar, no tie. He's reading something on his phone, one hand wrapped around a glass of whiskey. Neat. The dim restaurant lighting seems to bend around him, creating shadows that make it difficult to see his face clearly. What strikes me isn't his appearance, though. He's handsome in a sharp-edged, dangerous way, but the space around him. Other diners seem to unconsciously angle away from his booth. The servers who pass give it a wide berth. Even Marco, usually quick to hover over our wealthier customers, hasn't approached the table once. Who's that? I ask Carla, the senior waitress who's worked here since before I was born. She glances over, then quickly looks away. Trouble, she mutters. That's who. Don't stare, Sofia. Just do your job and stay invisible. But invisibility has never been my strong suit. As I move through my section, I find my eyes drawn back to the corner booth again and again. The man hasn't ordered food, hasn't asked for anything except that single glass of whiskey. But he's been here for over an hour watching, waiting. For what? At 8:30, during a brief lull in the chaos, I'm counting my tips at the server station when Marco appears beside me. This close, I can see the sweat beading on his forehead despite the restaurant's aggressive air conditioning. I need to see you in the back, he says. His voice is too loud, attracting attention from nearby tables. Now. I'm in the middle of. Now, Sofia. His hand clamps around my wrist, fingers digging into the tender skin. This won't wait. Fear spikes through me, sharp and immediate. The back room has no cameras. I know this because Marco mentioned it once, casually, like it was just an interesting fact. But nothing Marco does is casual. Everything is calculated, designed to intimidate, to control. Please. I whisper, trying condo, to pull away without making a scene. Whatever this is about, can we discuss it after my shift? I have customers, your customers can wait. He starts pulling me toward the hallway that leads to the storage room and the single bathroom employees share. You and I need to have a conversation about respect, about following orders. My heart hammers against my ribs. I plant my feet, but my canvas work shoes have no traction on the polished floor. Other servers notice now, their eyes widening, but no one intervenes. No one ever intervenes. In places like Romano's Bistro, survival means keeping your head down and your mouth shut. Marco, you're hurting me. You'll know hurt if you don't start showing me some goddamn respect. He hisses, dragging me past the last occupied table and through the kitchen doors. The cooks glance up, see what's happening, and quickly return to their work. Witnesses who will claim they saw nothing. We're halfway down the hallway when a voice cuts through. The chaos. Let her go. The words are quiet, almost conversational, but they carry a weight that makes Marco freeze mid-stride. We both turn to see the man from the corner booth standing at the entrance to the hallway. Up close, he's taller than I realize, maybe 6'2", with dark hair touched with silver at the temples and eyes the color of obsidian. His face could have been carved from stone, all sharp angles and hard lines, except for his mouth, which curves in something that's not quite a smile. This is a private matter. Marco stammers, but his grip on my wrist loosens. Employee discipline. Not your concern. I'm making it my concern. The man takes a step forward, and Marco actually backs up, pulling me with him. The lady clearly doesn't want to go with you. I suggest you listen to her. Who the hell do you think you are? Marco tries to inject authority into his voice, but it comes out shaky. This is my restaurant. You can't just... Your restaurant? The man's eyebrow arches slightly. Interesting. I was under the impression Romano's Bistro was owned by the Terranova Group. Unless the paperwork has changed recently? Marco's face drains of color. I'm the manager. I run the day-to-day operations. And I, the man says softly, dangerously, am Dante Moretti. Perhaps you've heard the name? The effect is instantaneous. Marco's hand drops from my wrist like I've suddenly caught fire. He backs up another step, nearly stumbling over his own feet. Mr. Moretti, he breathes. I wasn't informed you'd be visiting tonight. If I'd known. If you'd known, you would have what? Behaved better? Treated your employees with basic human decency? Dante Moretti's voice remains perfectly calm, which somehow makes it more terrifying. The fact that you only show respect when you think someone important is watching tells me everything I need to know about your character. I stand frozen between them, my wrist throbbing where Marco gripped it, trying to process what's happening. Dante Moretti. The name sounds familiar, tickling at the edges of my memory, but I can't quite place it. Sofia, Dante says, his gaze shifting to me. Those dark eyes seem to see everything, the bruise forming on my wrist, the fear I'm trying to hide, the exhaustion that's become my constant companion. That's your name, correct? I nod, not trusting my voice. You're finished for the evening. E continues. Go collect your things. You'll receive full pay for your shift. She can't just leave. Marco protests weakly. We're understaffed. The dinner rush isn't, then I suggest you get back to work and cover her tables yourself. Dante's attention hasn't left me. Unless you'd like to discuss your management techniques with me in more detail? I'm sure we could have a productive conversation about harassment, assault, and the numerous labor law violations I've witnessed in the past hour alone. Marco's mouth opens and closes like a fish drowning in air. Of course. Yes. Sofia, you can go. We'll discuss this tomorrow. There's nothing to discuss, Dante says flatly. Sofia, go get your things. I'll wait here. My legs feel disconnected from my body as I walk past them both. Past the kitchen where the cooks are suddenly very busy. Past the server station where Carla and the others stand watching with wide eyes. In the tiny employee locker room, I lean against the wall and take several shaky breaths. What just happened? Who is Dante Moretti? And why does his name make Marco, who I've seen scream at grown men, until they cried, turn into a terrified, stuttering mess? And more importantly, what does he want from me? My hands tremble as I gather my purse and jacket. In the cracked mirror above the sink, I see what he must have seen. A 28-year-old woman who looks 40, with dark circles under her eyes and hair scraped back into a utilitarian ponytail. My uniform hangs loose on a frame that's lost 20 pounds. Over the past year, because I've learned that skipping lunch means Elena can have seconds at dinner, I'm nobody, nothing. Just another struggling single mother in a city full of them. So why would a man like Dante Moretti intervene? When I emerge from the locker room, Dante is standing exactly where I left him, hands in his pockets, posture relaxed. But there's something coiled about him, like a predator at rest. Marco is nowhere to be seen. "Come," Dante says simply, gesturing toward the front door. "My car is outside." I need to catch the bus," I stammer. "My daughter is with the neighbor, and I need to pick her up before 9, or Mrs. Chen charges overtime. I'll have my driver take you wherever you need to go." He's already moving toward the exit, and somehow I find myself following, as if pulled by an invisible current, including to your neighbors to collect your daughter. Outside, the spring air feels impossibly fresh after hours in the restaurants. Grease-scented confines, a black Mercedes idles at the curb, and a man in a dark suit stands beside the rear door. He opens it as we approach, his face professionally blank. "I don't understand," I say, stopping a few feet from the car. "Why are you doing this? I don't even know you." Dante turns to face me fully, and in the streetlight, I can see him clearly for the first time. He's probably in his late 30s, with a face that would be beautiful if it weren't so hard. There's a thin scar above his left eyebrow, and another along his jawline, marks of a life that's been anything but easy. "You remind me of someone," he says finally. "Someone who deserved better than what life gave her." "I'm not a charity case," I say, lifting my chin, despite the fear still coursing through my veins. "I don't need anyone's pity." Something flickers in his eyes, surprise, maybe, or respect. "No," he agrees. "You don't need pity, but you do need protection, whether you realize it or not." Marco won't. "Stop, Sofia. Men like him never do. They keep pushing until someone pushes back." "And you're going to push back? Why? You don't know me. You don't know anything about my life, or I know you have a daughter," he interrupts quietly. "I know you work 60-hour weeks trying to keep a roof over her head. I know your ex-husband disappeared 18 months ago, leaving you with nothing but debt and broken promises. I know you're $300 short on rent this month and terrified you'll lose your apartment." The blood drains from my face. "How do I make it my business to know things?" he says simply. "Particularly about the people who work in establishments I have an interest in." The pieces click together with sickening clarity. "You own Romano's Bistro." "Through several shell corporations and holding companies, yes." He studies my reaction carefully. "The Terranova Group is mine, and Marco works for you." "Not anymore." The words are delivered with such casual finality that I actually shiver. "As of 10 minutes ago, Marco Rossi is no longer employed by any business I control. He'll find that doors which were once open to him are now firmly closed." I should feel relieved. Vindicated, even. Instead, I feel a growing sense of dread. "Why would you do that for me? What do you want?" Dante smiles, and it transforms his face from coldly handsome to something almost warm. "Almost. Get in the car, Sofia. We have much to discuss, and your daughter is waiting." Every instinct I have screams that getting into this car is a mistake. That accepting help from a man who casually destroys careers and speaks about interests in restaurants with the confidence of someone who owns half the city will cost me more than I can afford. But I also know that going back to Romano's Bistro isn't an option now. That Marco, humiliated and angry, will make my life hell if I'm foolish enough to show up for my next shift. That $300 short on rent means Elena and I could be homeless by the end of the month. And beneath all the fear and suspicion, there's something else. A tiny, treacherous spark of curiosity about this man who really looked at me and saw someone worth protecting. I get in the car. The interior smells like leather and expensive cologne. Dante slides in beside me, maintaining a careful distance, and the driver closes the door with a soft click that sounds like a prison cell locking. "Where does your neighbor live?" Dante asks, pulling out his phone. I give him Mrs. Chen's address, and he relays it to the driver in rapid Italian. The car pulls smoothly into traffic, and I watch the familiar streets of my neighborhood slide past the tinted windows. "What happens now?" I ask, my voice small in the luxurious space. "Now," Dante says, his gaze holding mine, "we discuss your future, and mine, and how they might be connected in ways that benefit us both." "I'm a waitress," I say flatly. "What could I possibly offer someone like you?" His smile returns, enigmatic and slightly unsettling. "You'd be surprised, Sofia Russo, what value I see in you. The use of my full name, not Sofia Martinez. The name I've used since Elena was born. But my maiden name, the one I haven't spoken in years, sends ice through my veins. How do you know that name? I whisper. Like I said, Dante replies softly. I make it my business to know things. And you, Sofia, are far more interesting than you realize. The car glides through the night, carrying me away from everything familiar and toward a future I can't begin to imagine. Behind us, Romano's bistro recedes into the distance, and with it, the life I've known for the past 18 months. I have no idea what Dante Moretti wants from me, but something tells me I'm about to find out. Mrs. Chen's apartment building looks smaller than usual as the Mercedes pulls up to the curb. Or maybe it's just that everything looks smaller when viewed through the windows of a car that probably costs more than I'll earn in 5 years. I'll only be a minute, I say, reaching for the door handle. Marco will come with you. Dante nods toward the driver, who's already exiting the vehicle. That's not necessary. It's not a suggestion. His tone is mild, but there's steel underneath. Marco, ensure Sofia and her daughter get to the car safely. The driver, also named Marco, apparently, which feels like some kind of cosmic joke, gives a slight nod and opens my door. He's built like a wall, with hands that look like they could crush concrete, but he offers me his arm with surprising gentleness as I step onto the sidewalk. Mrs. Chen answers her door wearing her usual house dress and slippers, her weathered face creasing into a smile when she sees me. Then her eyes land on Marco standing behind me, and her expression shifts to concern. Sofia, is everything all right? You're early. And this man... Everything's fine, Mrs. Chen. I assure her quickly. There was an incident at work, but I'm okay. Is Elena ready? Sleeping on the couch, the poor lamb, worn out from her homework. Mrs. Chen steps aside to let me in, but her gaze keeps darting to Marco, who's positioned himself at the door like a sentinel. Sofia, who is that man? A friend, I say, which is possibly the biggest lie I've ever told. He gave me a ride home. Elena is indeed asleep on Mrs. Chen's worn sofa, her dark hair spread across the cushions, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. She's wearing the pajamas I dropped off this morning, the ones with the faded unicorns that she refuses to outgrow, even though they're getting too small. My heart clenches at the sight of her, so small and vulnerable, and completely dependent on me to keep her safe. What am I doing? What am I getting us into? Mama? Elena's eyes flutter open as I stroke her hair. Is it time to go home? Yes, baby. Time to go home. She sits up, rubbing her eyes, and spots Marco in the doorway. Her eyes widen. Who's that? A friend of Mama's. He's giving us a ride. In what kind of car? Elena asks, because children have an uncanny ability to focus on the strangest details. A very nice one, I say, helping her into her jacket. Come on, sweetheart. Let's get you home and into your real bed. I pay Mrs. Chen $40 I can't really afford, but she refuses to charge less and gather Elena's backpack and homework. Marco takes the bag without a word, and Elena slips her small hand into mine as we head back to the car. Wow, Elena breathes when she sees the Mercedes. It's like a movie star car. Something like that. I help her into the back seat, where she immediately bounces on the leather with delight. Dante has been on his phone, but he ends the call as we settle in. His expression softens almost imperceptibly when he sees Elena. You must be Elena, he says. I'm Dante. Do you know my mama from work? Elena asks with the direct curiosity of a 6-year-old. In a manner of speaking. He glances at me, a question in his eyes, and I give a slight nod. What choice do I have? Your mother works very hard. She should be recognized for that. She works all the time. Elena agrees matter-of-factly. Sometimes I don't see her for days and days, but Mrs. Chen is nice, and she makes really good dumplings. The casual way my daughter describes our reality, her mother's absence, the parade of babysitters, the making do with whatever I can cobble together cuts deeper than any of Marco's insults ever could. Where to? Marco the driver asks from the front seat. I give him our address and Dante's eyebrow rises fractionally. He knows exactly what kind of neighborhood we live in. The kind where sirens are background noise and you don't walk alone after dark. Mama, can we get McDonald's? Elena asks hopefully. I'm really hungry. My stomach twists. I fed her breakfast this morning before school, and I know Mrs. Chen gave her a snack. But dinner I was counting on bringing home leftovers from the restaurant. Now I have nothing to give her. It's late, baby. We'll have something at home. McDonald's sounds perfect. Dante interrupts smoothly. Marco, the one on 5th Street. That's not necessary. I start, but he's already pulling out his wallet. Elena, do you like chicken nuggets or hamburgers? Nuggets. Elena bounces in her seat. With the barbecue sauce, not the sweet and sour. A woman who knows what she wants. I respect that. He hands several bills to Marco the driver. Get whatever they'd like, and something for yourself. The McDonald's stop is surreal. Marco the driver handles the drive-thru with the same professional efficiency he probably uses for more dangerous tasks, and Elena chatters happily about her day at school while we wait. Dante listens with what appears to be genuine interest, asking questions about her teacher and her friends, and I find myself relaxing fractionally despite the strangeness of the situation. By the time we reach our apartment building, a 5-story walk-up with peeling paint, and a broken intercom, Elena has decided that Dante is really nice, even if he's kind of scary looking. She's also half asleep again, her head drooping against my shoulder. I'll walk you up, Dante says, and this time I don't argue. The building's main entrance is dark. The overhead light burned out weeks ago, and the stairwell smells like garbage and something less identifiable. I feel acutely aware of what he must think as we climb the 3 flights to our apartment, the graffiti on the walls, the sounds of shouting from behind closed doors, the way I have to jiggle the lock 3 times before it opens. Our apartment is small, a 1-bedroom, where Elena sleeps in the bedroom, and I take the pull-out couch in the living room. But it's clean. I make sure it's always clean, no matter how exhausted I am. The second-hand furniture might be worn, but it's neatly arranged. The walls might be bare except for Elena's drawings, but those drawings are carefully taped up in straight lines. You can put her down here, I whisper, nodding toward Elena's room. I'll change her in a minute. But Dante has already lifted Elena from my arms with surprising gentleness, carrying her to the small bedroom and laying her on the twin bed, covered in a princess comforter I found at a thrift store. Elena barely steers, and I pull off her shoes and jacket, tucking her in with practiced efficiency. When I return to the living room, Dante is standing by the window, looking out at the fire escape and the brick wall beyond. The McDonald's bag sits on my tiny kitchen counter, and the smell of French fries makes my stomach growl audibly. You should eat, he says without turning around. When was your last meal? I had breakfast, a piece of toast, standing at the counter while getting Elena ready for school. That was 14 hours ago. Now he does turn, his dark eyes finding. Sit, eat, we'll talk. I should tell him to leave, should demand answers before accepting any more of his help. But the exhaustion of the past 18 months crashes over me all at once, and I sink onto my threadbare couch with the McDonald's bag, pulling out a burger that tastes better than anything I've had in weeks. Dante waits until I've eaten half of it before he speaks. I want to offer you a position, he says. One that pays considerably more than Romano's Bistro and doesn't involve harassment or assault. I set down the burger, my appetite suddenly gone. Doing what? Managing one of my restaurants. A legitimate position with a legitimate salary. I'm a waitress, I say flatly. I don't have management experience. You have a business degree from NYU that you never finished because you got pregnant. He pulls out his phone, scrolling through something. You completed 3 years of a 4-year program with a 3.7 GPA. You were on track to graduate with honors before your ex-husband convinced you to drop out and focus on the family. The casual recitation of my failures, my mistakes, my broken dreams, makes me want to cry. That was a long time ago. 7 years. Not so long in the grand scheme of things. He pockets his phone. You have the intelligence and the training. All you lack is the opportunity. I'm offering you that opportunity. Why? I demand. You still haven't answered that question. Why would you do this for a stranger? Dante is quiet for a long moment, his gaze distant. When he speaks, his voice is softer than I've heard it. 20 years ago, my mother worked 3 jobs to keep me fed and in school. She was intelligent, capable, deserving of so much more than the life she had. But she was an immigrant with limited English and no connections, so she cleaned houses and worked restaurant kitchens and did whatever it took. He pauses. She died when I was 17. Exhaustion, the doctors said. Her heart just gave, out from years of stress and overwork. I'm sorry, I whisper. Don't be sorry. Be smart. His attention returns to me, intense and unwavering. I see her in you, Sofia. The same strength, the same pride, the same determination to give your child better than what you had. The difference is that I'm now in a position to do something about it, to offer the help no one offered her. It sounds almost reasonable, almost, but I've learned that nothing in life comes free. What's the catch? I ask. There's always a catch. A slight smile curves his lips. The catch is that I expect excellence. You'll work hard, not the back-breaking, soul-crushing hard of 70-hour weeks on your feet, but the intellectually challenging hard of learning a new profession. You'll need to complete your degree, which I'll pay for. You'll need to prove yourself capable of running a high-end establishment. That's it? Work hard and finish school? And loyalty, he adds quietly. I value loyalty above all. Else, Sofia, the people who work for me, who I invest in, I expect their complete dedication in return. There it is, the real catch. You want me to owe you, I say slowly. You want me dependent on you, so I'll do what? Whatever you ask? I want you to succeed. He corrects. Because your success reflects well on my judgment. Because having competent, trustworthy people in my organization makes it stronger. Because he stops, seeming to reconsider his words. Because I meant what I said. You remind me of someone who deserved better. Let me help you achieve it. I should say no. Should recognize this for what it is, a gilded cage, a trap disguised as opportunity. But I think of Elena sleeping in the next room, of the medical bills still piling up from her asthma, of the constant fear that defines every moment of our lives. How much? I ask. What would the salary be? $70,000 to start with benefits, health insurance, dental, vision, paid vacation, a signing bonus, of $10,000 to help you get settled. The numbers are so impossibly large that I actually laugh, a slightly hysterical sound. That's more than twice what I make now. For a management position I'm not qualified for. You're more qualified than you think. He stands, pulling a business card from his jacket and setting it on my coffee table. Think about it. Take the weekend. Call me Monday with your decision. He's at the door when I find my voice again. Mr. Moretti, Dante. What if I say no? He turns back, his expression unreadable. Then you say no. I'll ensure Marco never bothers you again, and you can find another waitressing job somewhere in the city. No strings, no consequences. He pauses. But I think you're too smart to turn down an opportunity that could change your daughter's life. After he leaves, I sit in the darkness of my apartment for a long time, the business card heavy in my hand, like a key to a door. I'm not sure I want to open. The weekend passes in, a say of indecision. I take Elena to the park, to the library, to all the free activities we can manage, and the whole time my mind churns with possibilities and fears. $70,000. Health insurance that would cover Elena's asthma medications without me having to choose between rent and inhalers. The chance to finish my degree. To become someone my daughter could be proud of. But at what cost? Sunday evening after Elena is asleep, I do something I haven't done in months. I pull out my laptop, an ancient Dell that takes 5 minutes to boot up, and search for information about Dante Moretti. What I find makes my blood run cold. The legitimate search results are sparsy but impressive. Owner of the Terra Nova Group, a hospitality and entertainment conglomerate that operates restaurants, nightclubs, and hotels across the tri-state area. Estimated net worth of $50 million. Known philanthropist who donates to children's charities and immigrant support organizations. But when I dig deeper into the forums and true crime blogs and Reddit threads, I find different stories. Dante Moretti, alleged underboss of the Moretti crime family, connected to everything from money laundering to protection rackets to waste management operations that have nothing to do with trash. A man who's been investigated by the FBI multiple times but never charged. Someone who operates in the shadows of legitimate business, using restaurants and clubs as fronts for darker enterprises. I should be terrified. Should delete his number and forget this ever happened. Instead, I think about my mother. She came to this country with nothing but hope and determination, worked herself to the bone in factories and hotels, and died at 52 without ever seeing her grandchild because I was too proud to reach out after I got pregnant, and she told me I was making a mistake. I think about Elena's father, who promised forever and delivered 6 months before disappearing, with our savings and another woman. I think about Marco's hand on my wrist, the casual cruelty of a man who knew I had no power to fight back. And I think about Dante's eyes when he looked at my daughter, the gentleness in his voice, The way he spoke about his mother. Maybe I'm being naive. Maybe I'm walking into something dangerous that I don't fully understand. But for the first time in 18 months, someone is offering me a choice instead of forcing me to accept whatever scraps life throws my way. Monday morning, I drop Elena at school and call the number on Dante's card from the steps of the building. He answers on the second ring. Sofia. I accept. I say before I can lose my nerve. Your offer. I accept. There's a pause, and I could swear I hear satisfaction in his voice when he speaks. Good. I'll send a car for you at 10. We have much to discuss. Where are we going? To see your new restaurant, he says. And to begin your education in my world. The car arrives. Precisely at 10, not the Mercedes from Friday, but a sleek black SUV with tinted windows. Marco the driver greets me with a professional nod, and I slide into the back seat feeling like an imposter in my best outfit, which is really just my least worn pair of jeans and a blazer I found at Goodwill. We drive for 20 minutes, leaving behind my neighborhood's cramped streets for wider avenues lined with expensive shops and renovated brownstones. The restaurant Marco pulls up to is called Lucia's, and it's beautiful, a corner location with floor-to-ceiling windows, elegant signage, and a small crowd of customers visible inside even at mid-morning. Dante is waiting by the entrance, and today he's dressed more casually in dark slacks and a black shirt. No jacket. Somehow he looks even more dangerous this way, like a blade without its sheath. Welcome, he says, hestering me inside, to your new domain. The interior of Lucia's takes my breath away. Exposed brick walls, modern light, fixtures, a marble bar that probably cost more than my annual rent. The tables are already set for lunch service with crisp white linens and fresh flowers. A few early customers sit scattered throughout, and I spot 2 servers moving efficiently between them. It's beautiful, I whisper. It's been without a proper manager for 3 months, Dante says, leading me toward the back. The previous manager retired, and I've been cycling through temporary staff. None of them worked out. The operation has become sloppy, inconsistent. I need someone who can restore it to what it should be. And you think I can do that? I know you can. He opens a door marked office and gestures me inside. The office is spacious and well-appointed, with a large desk, comfortable chairs, and windows overlooking a small courtyard. A laptop sits on the desk alongside neat stacks of folders and binders. This is your space, Dante says. I've had my accountant prepare everything you'll need: financial records, employee files, supplier contracts, operational procedures. I'll work with you for the first few weeks until you have your footing. I sink into the desk chair, overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. You start by observing. He pulls up a second chair beside me, close enough that I can smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. Tell me what you see when you look at this restaurant. I take a breath and force myself to focus, to push past the fear and tap into the skills I learned in college, the natural analytical ability that made me good at business before life got in the way. The customers look happy, I say slowly, but I only count 8 tables occupied out of maybe 30. For a Monday brunch, in this neighborhood, you should be at least half full. Good. What else? The servers seem uncertain. They're checking with each other constantly. No clear hierarchy or system. That suggests weak management, lack of training, or both. I watch one server fumble with a coffee pot, nearly spilling it. And they're not confident, which means customers probably aren't confident in them. Dante nods, something like approval in his expression. Continue. For the next hour, he walks me through Lucia's operations with meticulous detail. The financial statements reveal what I suspected: revenue has declined steadily over the past 3 months. Food costs are too high, suggesting either theft or poor inventory management. Employee turnover is significant, with new hires lasting an average of 6 weeks. It's dying, I say finally, setting down the papers. Slowly, but it's dying. Another 6 months like this and you'll need to close it. Or someone needs to completely overhaul the operation. New management structure, staff retraining, possibly replacing the worst performers, renegotiating supplier contracts, updating the menu to reflect the neighborhood's demographics better. I catch myself, aware I'm speaking with an authority. I don't feel, but I'm just a waitress. What do I know? You're not just anything, Sofia. Dante's voice is firm. You have instincts that can't be taught and intelligence that's been wasted on survival instead of growth. That ends now. He stands, offering me his hand. Come. Let me introduce you to your staff. The next few hours are a whirlwind. Dante gathers the servers, kitchen staff, and hosts about 15 people total, and introduces me as Lucia's new manager. The reactions range from curious to skeptical to outright hostile, particularly from a server named Marcus, who's apparently been acting as unofficial manager since the previous one left. You're putting someone with no experience in charge? Marcus demands, not quite managing to keep the contempt from his voice. How's that fair to those of us who've been here for years? Sofia has extensive business training and my complete confidence, Dante says coolly. Whether that's fair is irrelevant. She's your manager. Now, and you'll treat her with the respect that position deserves. Is that understood? The threat underlying his pleasant tone is unmistakably. Marcus swallows hard and nods. After the staff meeting, Dante takes me aside. Marcus will be a problem, he says bluntly. He's been stealing from the register and taking kickbacks from the produce supplier. I have evidence, but I wanted you to handle it as part of your training. Handle it how? My mouth has gone dry. Fire him, Dante says simply. Today. Now. With cause and documentation so he can't claim wrongful termination. I've never fired anyone. I don't even know. Then learn. His voice softens slightly. Leadership means making difficult decisions, Sofia. This is your first test. My hands shake as I call Marcus into the office. Dante waits outside, giving me space but remaining close enough to intervene if needed. I spread the evidence across the desk, register discrepancies that align with Marcus's shifts. Emails between him and the supplier, discussing private arrangements, security footage showing him pocketing cash. Marcus's face cycles through shock, anger, and finally resignation as I lay it all out. By the time I'm done, I'm sweating despite the air conditioning, my voice barely steady. You're terminated effective immediately, I force out. You have 15 minutes to collect your personal belongings and leave the premises. If you return, the police will be called. This is bullshit, he spits. You've been here 5 minutes and you think you can. I can and I am. I stand, channeling every ounce of strength I have. Security will escort you out. Goodbye, Marcus. After he's gone, escorted by Marco the driver, who appeared the moment I pressed the button Dante had shown me, I collapse into the chair, shaking. Dante enters quietly and sets a glass of water on the desk. Well done, he says. I feel sick. That's natural. It means you're not a sociopath. He sits across from me. But it was necessary, and you handled it well. Marcus was poison in this operation. Now you can begin to heal it. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. The rest of the day passes in a blur of learning systems, meeting suppliers, and observing the lunch service. By the time Marco drives me to pick up Elena from school, my head is spinning with information and my feet ache from standing, but it's a different kind of exhaustion than I've known at Romano's Bistro. This is the tiredness of mental effort, of growth, of challenge. Elena chatters about her day as we drive back to our apartment, and I half listen while staring out the window at the changing neighborhood. When we arrive, Dante's Mercedes is already parked in front. Is Mr. Dante here again? Elena asks excitedly. Did you work together today? Yes, baby. He's teaching me some new things. Dante's waiting in the lobby, holding several large bags. I hope I'm not overstepping, he says as we approach. But I thought Elena might enjoy some new books. And I noticed your apartment could use a few things. The bags contain not just books beautiful, expensive hardcovers that Elena will treasure, but also groceries, cleaning supplies, and a new coffee maker to replace my broken one. This is too much, I protest, even as Elena is already pulling out books and squealing with delight. Considered a signing bonus, Dante says, and an investment in your success. You can't focus on work if you're worried about basic necessities. We end up having dinner together, takeout from a Thai place nearby, eaten at my small table, while Elena tells Dante elaborate stories about her day. He listens with the same serious attention he gave me in the office, asking questions and laughing at her jokes, and I find myself relaxing despite everything. After Elena goes to bed, Dante and I sit in my tiny living room with cups of tea, and for the first time, the silence between us feels almost comfortable. Thank you, I say quietly. For all of this, the job, the help, the kindness to Elena, I know it comes with strings, but I'm grateful anyway. The only string, Dante says, his dark eyes finding mine, is that you succeed, that you prove my faith in you wasn't misplaced. He pauses. And that you trust me, Sofia. I know my reputation. I know what people say about me and my family. Some of it is even true, but I give you my word that I will never put you or Elena in danger. You have my protection for what it's worth. Why does it matter so much to you? I ask. Really, the truth this time. He's quiet for so long. I think he won't answer. Then, because I've spent 20 years building an empire, and I've discovered that empire is meaningless without people worth protecting in it. Because seeing strength in others reminds me why I fought so hard to survive. Because he meets my gaze directly. Because you looked at me that first night at Romano's, and you didn't see a monster or a savior. You saw a man, and I'd forgotten what that felt like. The honesty in his words steals my breath. We're sitting close now, close enough that I can see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from him. I should go, he says, but doesn't move. Yes, I agree, but don't pull away. The moment stretches between us, charged with possibility and danger in equal measure. Then Dante stands, breaking the spell, and I can breathe again. Tomorrow, he says at the door. 9, mine. We have inventory to review and a new server to interview. I'll be there. After he leaves, I sit in the darkness for a long time, my tea growing cold in my hands. I've made a choice. Step through a door that can never be closed again. Whether that leads to salvation or destruction remains to be seen. But tonight, for the first time in 18 months, I fall asleep without the crushing weight of fear sitting on my chest. And that, I think, might be worth any price. 3 weeks into my new position, I'm standing in Lucia's kitchen at 6 a.m., reviewing prep lists with Chef Antonio, when the first threat arrives. It comes in the form of a health inspector, or at least, someone claiming to be a health inspector. He's short, balding, with a clipboard and an officious manner that immediately sets my teeth on edge. Routine inspection, he announces, though we weren't scheduled for one. I'll need to see your storage areas, refrigeration units, and staff certification records. Something about him feels wrong. Maybe it's the way his eyes linger too long on the expensive espresso machine, or how he seems more interested in cataloging our assets than actual health violations. But I smile professionally and show him everything he asks for, all while texting Dante a simple message. Unscheduled health inspector here. Seems off. His response comes within seconds. Don't let him leave. Keep him occupied. 5 minutes. I stretch out the inspection, asking unnecessary questions, offering to make coffee, pulling out more documentation than required. The inspector grows increasingly impatient, checking his watch repeatedly. This is all very thorough, he says finally, but I need to issue a citation. For what? I scan the kitchen, which is immaculate thanks to Antonio's exacting standards. Insufficient ventilation in the dry storage area. He pulls out a pre-printed form, already filled out. That'll be a $1,500 fine, payably immediately to avoid closure. And there it is. Not a real inspector at all, but someone running a shakedown operation. I'll need to consult with my owner before paying any fines. I say calmly, even as my heart hammers against my ribs. That's not how this works. The kitchen door opens, and Dante walks in, followed by Marco and another man I don't recognize. The fake inspector's face drains of color. Mr. Moretti. He stammers. I didn't realize you'd be here. Clearly, Dante's voice is arctic. Who sent you? Castellano? Russo? I don't know what you, Marco. Dante doesn't raise his voice, but the single word carries enough weight to make the inspector flinch. Take our guest to the office. Help him remember who he works for. I expect violence, but Marco simply places a heavy hand on the inspector's shoulder and guides him away. The man goes without resistance, his fake clipboard forgotten on the prep counter. Are you all right? Dante asks, turning to me. I'm fine. What was that about? A test. He picks up the phony citation, scanning it with obvious disgust. Someone wanted to see how you'd handle pressure, whether you'd fold or call for help. You did well. Who would test me? Why? Dante's expression darkens. Because you're under my protection now, Sofia. That makes you both valuable and vulnerable. There are people in this city who would love to find a weakness they could exploit. The implications send ice through my veins. Elena is perfectly safe, he assures me immediately. I've had security on her school since the day you accepted my offer. Discreet, professional. She hasn't even noticed them. I should be angry about him making decisions involving my daughter without consulting me. Instead, I feel a wave of relief so intense it nearly buckles my knees. Come, Dante says, gesturing toward the office. We need to have a conversation I've been putting off. In the office, he closes the door and pours 2 glasses of whiskey, even though it's barely passed on. I accept mine and sink into the chair, suddenly exhausted. My world is complicated, Dante begins, choosing his words carefully. The legitimate businesses. I own the restaurants, the clubs, the hotels. They exist within a larger ecosystem, one that requires certain arrangements with certain people. You mean the Mafia? I might as well say it directly. I mean families who have operated in this city for generations, he corrects, who maintain territories and peace through negotiation, and when necessary, shows of strength. My family, the Morettis, we control the north side. But there are others. The Castellanos to the east, the Russos to the south. Smaller operations scattered throughout. And they see me as what? A way to get to you? They see you as my newest investment, he says bluntly. Someone I'm giving opportunities I've never offered outsiders before. That makes you interesting to them. Either as a potential weakness, or as someone who might provide information about my operations. I take a sip of whiskey, letting it burn down my throat. So what happens now? That man Marco took away will tell us who sent him and why. Then he'll be released with a message that Sofia Russo is under Moretti protection, and any further attempts to harass or to intimidate her will be considered acts of aggression against my family. The casual way he discusses what amounts to a declaration of war makes my head spin. And if they don't listen? His smile is cold and predatory. They will. I've spent 20 years making sure people listen when I speak. Over the next few weeks, I learn what it means to be under Dante's protection. Security appears everywhere, not obviously, but I start noticing the same faces. The man who always seems to be reading a newspaper near Elena's school. The couple who sit in Lucia's every morning, nursing coffee for hours. The black SUV that follows me home each night, maintaining a careful distance. At first, it's unsettling. Then it becomes oddly comforting. Lucia's begins to transform under my management. I implement new training procedures, renegotiate supplier contracts, update the menu to include more vegetarian and gluten-free options that the neighborhood's younger residents want. Revenue climbs steadily, and the staff, initially skeptical, starts to respect me. The servers stop whispering when I enter a room. Antonio starts asking for my input on menu changes. Even the hostess, a 19-year-old named Maya, who initially treated me with open contempt, begins staying after her shift to ask about my business degree and how I got into management. You're different from other managers, she says one evening as we're closing up. You actually listen to us. I was you 6 weeks ago. I remind her. I remember what it's like to work for someone who treats you like you're disposable. But the biggest change is in Elena. With stable income and health insurance, her asthma medications are always stocked. She's gained weight, her cheeks filling out from the regular nutritious meals I can now afford. She's sleeping better because I'm home more, usually by 7 instead of midnight, and she's happy. God, she's so happy it sometimes brings tears to my eyes. Dante comes by most evenings, ostensibly to review the day's operations, but increasingly, he stays for dinner. It becomes a routine. I pick up Elena, we go home. I cook something simple, and Dante arrives with wine or dessert, or, once, an elaborate dollhouse that made Elena scream with joy. You're spoiling her, I protest weakly. I'm enjoying her, he counters. Is that so wrong? And the truth is, watching them together does something to my heart. Dante shows Elena the same patience and respect he shows adults, never talking down to her, genuinely interested in her opinions about everything from her favorite dinosaur to whether pizza is a sandwich. He's nice, Elena tells me one night as I tuck her in. I wish he could be my daddy. The innocent words hit me like a physical blow. Sweetheart, Dante's my boss. He's my friend. But he's not, we're not. But he could be, she insists with the simple logic of childhood. He likes you. I can tell. And you smile more when he's here. After she's asleep. Idea. stand in her doorway for a long time, thinking about how quickly our lives have been absorbed into Dante's orbit, how natural it feels to have him in our space, in our routine, how I've started looking forward to his arrival each evening, started noticing the way his eyes crinkle when Elena makes him laugh, started feeling a flutter in my chest when his hand brushes mine. Dangerous. This is also dangerous. I'm so lost in thought that I don't hear him come up behind me until he speaks. She's beautiful when she sleeps, Dante says quietly. Peaceful. I turn to find him in my doorway. When did I give him a key? I can't even remember holding a bag from the Italian bakery on 5th Street. You need to stop bringing food every night. I say, but I'm already taking the bag, already pulling out the cannoli he knows I love. I'm going to gain 50 pounds. You could afford to gain 10. His gaze travels over me, and I'm suddenly very aware that I'm in yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt, my hair in a messy bun, no makeup. You were too thin when we met, running on stress and adrenaline instead of proper nutrition. We settle on the couch with tea and pastries, and for a while, we just sit in comfortable silence. This has become my favorite part of the day, these quiet evenings where we're just Sofia and Dante, not manager and owner, not protector and protected. Just two people who've somehow found unexpected friendship in the chaos of their complicated lives. I need to tell you something, Dante says finally, and the seriousness in his tone makes my stomach clench. About your ex-husband. All the peace of the evening evaporates. Peter? What about him? We found him. Dante sets down his tea carefully. He's living in Seattle under the name Daniel Martinez, working as a financial consultant. Married to his secretary with a 2-year-old son. The information lands like a series of punches. Married. Another child. Another family he presumably actually stays with. Why are you telling me this? My voice sounds distant, unfamiliar. Because he's been contacted by the Castellanos. My head snaps up. What? Why? They're looking for someone with specific skills, financial expertise, experience in money laundering, no loyalty to existing families. Peter fits the profile. Dante's expression is grim. He's been in negotiations with them for 2 weeks. If he accepts their offer, he'll be moving back to New York. The room seems to tilt. He can't. If he comes back, if he finds out about you, about me working for you, he'll use it. Dante finishes quietly. Either as leverage against you or against me. The Castellanos would love to have that kind of ammunition. So what do we do? I'm standing now, pacing, my mind racing. Can you, I don't know, make him refuse their offer? I could. His voice is carefully neutral. But there's a better option. I stop pacing. What? We bring him in first. Offer him a position with my organization that's more attractive than what the Castellanos are offering. Keep him close where we can monitor him, and use his expertise for our benefit instead of our enemies. You want me to work with the man who abandoned me and his daughter? The betrayal is so profound I can barely speak. You want me to see him every day and pretend what? That everything's fine? I want to neutralize a threat before it becomes critical. Dante says, standing to face me. And yes, I want to use him the same way the Castellanos plan to. But Sofia, his hands settle on my shoulders, warm and grounding. I would never force this. If you can't handle having him in proximity, we'll find another way. I want to say I can't handle it. Want to the man Dante make Peter disappear. Solve this problem the way I suspect he solves many problems with violence and finality. But I think of Elena asking about her father sometimes. The carefully neutral way I explain that he had to go away, and, maybe, one day we'll see him again. If he comes back, I say slowly, he'll want to see Elena. Not if it's a condition of his employment that he maintains distance from his previous life. Dante says, we can structure this however you need, Sofia. Set whatever boundaries you require. The practical part of me recognizes the wisdom in this. Better to have Peter where we can watch him than working for our enemies. But the emotional part, the part that still carries scars from his abandonment, wants him nowhere near our carefully rebuilt life. I need time to think. I say, finally, take all the time you need. Dante's hands slide down my arms before dropping away, and I immediately miss their warmth. But Sofia the Castellanos will make their move within the next 2 weeks. Whatever we do, we need to decide soon. That night, after Dante leaves, I lie awake on my pull-out couch, staring at the ceiling and wondering how my life became so impossibly complicated. 6 weeks ago, I was just a waitress trying to survive. Now I'm caught between rival crime families, managing a high-end restaurant, and developing feelings I definitely shouldn't have for a man whose world I barely understand. The next morning, I make my decision. Bring him in. Bring him in. I tell Dante over coffee in Lucia's office. But on my terms. He doesn't know I'm here. He doesn't know about Elena. He gets a position somewhere in your organization where our paths won't cross. And if he ever tries to find us, the deal is off, and he's on his own with the Castellanos. Dante studies me for a long moment. You're sure? No, I admit. But you're right that it's better to have him contained than lose. Just promise me he won't hurt Elena. That's my only real requirement. Whatever else happens, my daughter doesn't get caught in the crossfire of your war with the Castellanos. You have my word, Dante says solemnly. Elena will never be touched by any of this. I'd burn the entire city down before I let harm come to her. The intensity in his voice, in his eyes, makes my breath catch. This isn't just about protection or obligation. Somewhere along the way, Dante has come to genuinely care about my daughter, about both of us. When does he arrive? I ask. 2 days. I'm flying him in personally to negotiate the terms. Dante hesitates. Sofia, if this is too much, if you need to step back from Lucia's while this plays out. No, I shake my head firmly. I'm not running anymore. I'm not hiding. I've spent too much of my life being afraid of Peter and what he can do to me. If he's coming back, I'm staying right here and proving that he doesn't have power over me anymore. Dante's smile is small but genuine. That's the Sofia I saw that first night at Romano's. The one who refuses to break, no matter how much pressure is applied. 2 days later, I'm doing inventory in the wine cellar when Marco appears at the top of the stairs. Boss wants to see you in the main office, he says. Now. Something, and his tone makes my stomach clench. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but there's been a complication with the Seattle situation. I follow him to Dante's private office 3 blocks away, a place I've only been once before, for contract signings. The building is nondescript from the outside but luxurious within, all dark wood and leather and the smell of expensive cigars. Dante is on the phone when I enter, his voice low and angry in Italian. He ends the call when he sees me, his expression carefully controlled. Peter's dead, he says without preamble. The words don't immediately make sense. What? His plane went down last night somewhere over Montana. Engine failure. No survivors. I sink into the nearest chair, not sure what I'm feeling. Relief? Grief? Guilt for feeling relief? Are you certain? The FAA confirmed it an hour ago. I had people on the ground verify. Dante pours a glass of whiskey and presses it into my hands. I'm sorry, Sofia. I know this is an Everweight. Complicated. I can't even finish the question. No. His answer is immediate and firm. I had no involvement. This was genuine mechanical failure. Multiple witnesses saw the plane go down, and the investigation is being handled by federal authorities. Nothing about it suggests foul play. I take a sip of whiskey, my hands shaking. The Castellanos are also scrambling to figure out what happened. If they'd killed him, I'd know. This was just Dante spreads his hands. Bad luck. Tragic timing. Elena, I whisper. I need to tell Elena. She deserves to know her father is dead, even if she barely remembers him. Take the day, Dante says immediately. Take the week if you need it. Lucia's can survive without you. But I shake my head. No. I'll tell her tonight, and we'll deal with it together. But I'm not taking time off. Work is it's the only thing keeping me sane right now. That evening, I sit Elena down and tell her as gently as I can that her father has. She cries not for the man she barely knew, but for the possibility she'd held on to that someday he might come back and want to be her daddy. But we still have Mr. Dante, right? She asks through her tears. He's not going to leave us. No, baby. I promise, holding her tight. Dante's not going anywhere. And when Dante arrives an hour later, Elena runs to him and wraps her small arms around his waist, crying into his shirt. He picks her up without hesitation, carrying her to the couch and holding her while she grieves for a father she never really had. I watch them from the doorway, this dangerous man cradling my daughter with infinite gentleness, murmuring comfort in Italian, his hand stroking her hair, and something in my chest cracks open. I'm falling for him. Not the careful, rational consideration of whether a relationship would be wise. Not the weighing of pros and cons. Just the simple, terrifying truth that I'm falling in love with Dante Moretti, and there's no way to stop it. Later, after Elena finally falls asleep, exhausted from crying, Dante and I sit in the kitchen with cold tea and the weight of everything unsaid between us. Thank you, I say quietly, for being here, for I gesture helplessly. Everything. You don't need to thank me. He reaches across the table, his hand covering mine. This is what family does, Sofia. We take care of each other. Is that what we are? The question escapes before I can stop it. Family? Dante's thumb traces circles on the back of my hand, his touch sending electricity up my arm. I'd like to think so. Elena feels like the daughter I never had. And he stops, something vulnerable flickering in his eyes. You've become essential to me in ways I didn't expect. Dante, you don't have to say anything. A interrupts gently. I know this is complicated. I know I'm not the kind of man you probably imagined building a life with. But I want you to know, both of you, you're safe with me. Always. I turn my hand over, lacing my fingers through his. I know. I trust you. That's what scares me most, how much I trust you when I barely understand your world. Then let me show you. His grip tightens. Not the violence or the darkness, you don't need to see that. But the rest of it. The reasons I do what I do. The people I protect. The good that exists even in shadows. It's a turning point, I realize. An invitation to step fully into his life instead of remaining on its edges. Okay, I hear myself say. Show me. The smile that transforms his face is worth any risk. Over the next month, Dante makes good on his promise. He introduces me to the other side of his empire, the charitable foundation that provides scholarships to immigrant children, the community center he funds in his old neighborhood, the network of support he's built for people who have nowhere else to turn. I meet his family, not the traditional kind, but the people who've stood by him through decades of struggle. There's Vincent, his consigliera, a silver-haired man with kind eyes who treats me with grandfatherly warmth. Maria, who runs his legitimate holdings with ruthless efficiency and takes me under her wing, teaching me the subtleties of managing money and people. And dozens of others, all bound together by loyalty and mutual protection. This is what people don't understand. Dante tells me one evening as we walk through the community center where dozens of kids are studying, playing, learning. They see the violence, the crime, and they think that's all we are. But this, he gestures at the children, this is what we're actually protecting. Our communities, our families, our future. The ends justify the means? I ask carefully. No. His answer is immediate. The ends never justify the means. But sometimes the means are all that's available to people who weren't born with privilege or power. So we do what we must to protect what's ours, and we try to minimize the damage. Along the way. It's a philosophy I'm not sure I agree with entirely, but I'm beginning to understand it. Beginning to see how someone like Dante, born into violence, raised by a mother who died from exhaustion, shaped by a world that gave him no good choices, might build something that's both beautiful and brutal. Elena adores him. She starts calling him Uncle Dante, and he embraces the role completely. He shows up for her school events, helps with homework, teaches her chess and simple Italian phrases. He's patient when she's difficult, playful when she needs joy, steady when she needs security. He's everything Peter never was and never could be. And with each passing day, I fall deeper. We're careful around each other, maintaining boundaries even as those boundaries grow increasingly thin. A touch that lingers too long. Eye contact that communicates more than words. The way my breath catches when he walks into a room, or how his expression softens when he looks at me. The staff at Lucia's notices. When are you two going to stop pretending? Maija asks one afternoon with the bluntness of youth. Everyone can see you're crazy about each other. It's not that simple. I protest. Why not? He's single, you're single, you clearly have chemistry. What's complicated about that? Everything, I want to say. The fact that he's a crime boss, and I'm trying to build a legitimate life. The fact that getting involved with him would tie me even more irrevocably to his world. The fact that Elena has already lost one father and doesn't need to attach herself to another man who might disappear. But I don't say any of that. Instead, I just smile and change the subject. The crisis comes on a Thursday evening, 8 weeks after Peter's death. I'm closing Lucia's when Marco rushes in, his usual calm shattered. We need to go. Now. Dante's orders. What's wrong? Fear spikes through me immediately. Is it Elena? Is she... Elena's fine. She's already secured at your apartment, with 4 guards. But there's been an incident. He won't say more, just hustles me into the SUV and drives faster than I've ever seen him drive, weaving through traffic with aggressive efficiency. We don't go to my apartment or to Dante's office. Instead, we head to an industrial area I've never visited, pulling up to a warehouse with no markings. Inside, the space is cold and cavernous, and in the center, zip-tied to a chair with blood running down his face, is the fake health inspector from weeks ago. Dante stands a few feet away, his shirt sleeves rolled up, his knuckles bruised. When he sees me, something like regret flashes across his face. "I'm sorry," he says. "You shouldn't have to see this, but you need to hear what he has to say." "What's going on?" My voice sounds steadier than I feel. "Tell her," Dante orders the man in the chair. "Tell her who sent you and why." The man's eyes are swollen, but he manages to focus on me. "Castellano," he gasps. "Sent me to gather intel. About you, about your daughter, about your connection to Moretti." Ice floods my veins. "Why?" "Because you're his weakness," the man says, and laughs a horribly, bubbling sound. "The great Dante Moretti, finally vulnerably because of some waitress and her kid. Castellano wanted to know if the rumors were true, if you meant something to him, and..." Dante's voice is arctic, "and they are. You're in love with her. Anyone with eyes can see it." The man spits blood, which makes her perfect leverage. Get to her, get to the kid, and Moretti will do anything. Even give up territory. The confession hangs in the air like poison. "Get him out of here," Dante tells Marco. "Make sure the Castellanos know that any further attempts to investigate or threaten Sofia or Elena will be considered an act of war." After they're gone, Dante and I stand in the empty warehouse, the magnitude of what just happened settling over us like ash. "He's right, isn't he?" I say quietly. "I'm your weakness now. Elena and I were liabilities." "No." Dante closes the distance between us. "You're not weaknesses. You're what I'm fighting for. There's a difference." "Is there?" My voice breaks. Because right now it seems like loving me puts a target on my back. On my daughter's back. "Sofia, don't." I step back, needing space to think. "Don't tell me it's going to be okay. Don't promise me protection when we both know that as long as I'm connected to you, we'll never be completely safe." "Then what do you want?" His voice is raw, stripped of its usual control. "You want me to walk away? Pretend I don't feel what I feel? Because I can't do that, Sofia. I've tried. God knows I've tried to keep my distance, to maintain boundaries, but I can't watch you and Elena and not want to be part of your lives. Can't see her smile or hear you laugh and not want to protect that with everything I have." The confession breaks something in me. All the careful walls I've built, all the rational reasons to be a content keep him at arm's length, crumble in the face of his honesty. "I'm scared," I whisper. "I'm so scared of what could happen. Of Elena getting hurt because we... Come here." Dante pulls me into his arms, and I let myself lean into his strength. "I know you're scared. You'd be stupid not to be. But Sofia, I've been in this life for 20 years. I know how to protect the people I love. And I love you, both of you, more than I thought I was capable of loving anyone." I tilt my head back to look at him, seeing the truth written in his eyes. "This is insane." "Probably," he agrees. "But so is everything worth having." He kisses me then, not gentle or tentative, but with all the pent-up longing of the past 2 months. I kiss him back just as fiercely, my hands fisting in his shirt, my body pressed against his like I'm trying to crawl inside his skin. We break apart, breathing hard, and Dante rests his forehead against mine. "I want this," I tell him. "Want you. Want us to be a real family. But Dante, if this puts Elena in danger, it won't," he promises. "I'll move you both to a secure location. Guards around the clock. Everything I have will go toward keeping you safe." "That's not a life," I protest. "That's a prison." "Then we end the threat." His voice goes cold. "The Castellanos want a war? I'll give them one they won't survive." The words should terrify me. Instead, I feel a fierce gratitude that this dangerous, complicated man is on my side. "What happens now?" I ask. "Now," Dante says, I take you home. I tuck Elena in and read her a story. And then you and I plan how we're going to build a life together, one where you're not just surviving anymore, but actually living. It sounds impossible. Beautiful and impossible. But then again, 2 months ago, the idea of managing a successful restaurant and falling in love with a crime boss seemed impossible too. Maybe impossible is just another word for not yet. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So, if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel